welcome to another edition of Kicking It Classic with JCD. I am your host, JCD DiMaselli. You could follow the show on Twitter at KITCWJCD. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Kicking It Classic with JCD. And you can follow me on Twitter, John D. SINY1219. On this episode, we are going to look back at the drama from 2003 involving Triple H and Goldberg, and there is a lot to dissect with this. There's a lot that is probably not known and a lot that maybe was assumed about. It was just a bad situation, and when you look at it, it is a situation that had a really bad domino effect as far as what would go on for the rest of that year and into 2004, which of course would lead to Goldberg's run culminating at WrestleMania 20. So let's get right to it. Goldberg arrives with a promo at WrestleMania 19, and he was one of the last WCW holdouts from Time Warner outside of like Sting, who had that guaranteed money that they weren't going to pass up just to jump to WWE right after the WCW purchase. This is why it took Hogan a long time to get there. It took Hall and Nash a long time to get there. Ric Flair. It was because of these deals that were more so with AOL Time Warner and not so much with WCW. So Goldberg is announced to come in. We know what happens. Goldberg immediately shows up the night after Mania, gets into the feud with The Rock, defeats The Rock at Backlash, bounces around a little bit because while, yes, as far as length goes, Bill Goldberg signed a 1-year contract with the WWE, and the mentality was both sides wanted to see how it would go. But what made Goldberg's deal different, and it's kind of the deal that Brock Lesnar has now, is while, yes, Goldberg signed for 1 year, he only signed for a certain number of appearances during that 1-year period. So Goldberg would beat The Rock at Backlash, and then Goldberg would disappear for a little bit. He wasn't around in May for Judgment Day. Then he would pop up again around late June, and we would have the Goldberg-Jericho feud. And then right after that, this is when Raw and SmackDown still had separate pay-per-views. So you knew SmackDown had the July pay-per-view. So the next big pay-per-view, which would have been a dual brand pay-per-view, but would have been the next big pay-per-view even for Raw, was SummerSlam. And it was disgustingly obvious what the main event of SummerSlam was going to be. It had to be Goldberg and Triple H. You had to go there. That was your marquee match. That was your feud. And Triple H beats Kevin Nash at Judgment Day inside Hell in a Cell, and I believe it's the night after, or it might have been a week or two after on Raw, where Triple H is cutting the "there's nobody left," and then Goldberg comes out. So here we go. Boom. Goldberg, Triple H, it's set. I believe they even announced it as the main event of SummerSlam 03. Okay, great. WWE at the time would run their house shows. And what they would do a lot of the times is they would run matches that were going to be at the pay-per-views to get dry runs. And while you would think, oh, that's great, they get to feel for each other, it could also be a bad thing. I mean, that's kind of part of the story why Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair never happened at WrestleMania 8, was because the house show matches were deemed bad. Now, as someone who lives in New York City, I don't know what matches with Hogan and Flair were bad, because the MSG matches, they had two of them, were fantastic and well received. Well, apparently, the Goldberg Triple H matches were described as disasters. Now, what doesn't help this is Triple H just came out of the Scott Steiner feud in the winter of 2003, and we all know how bad that Royal Rumble match was, and even the No Way Out match was not good either. So we come to reports that Goldberg Triple H, the matches are not good. Add into the fact that apparently Triple H has a quad injury. So the decision is made. The match can't be one-on-one at SummerSlam. The matches are bad. Triple H is hurt. This is going to be a disaster. There's no way you could even hide it under on the card, because there's no way Triple H at that time in 2003 with his ego would have allowed, say, Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar to main event that show. So the decision is made. They decide they're going to do the Elimination Chamber. It's the way it's set up is there's a big brawl segment on Raw involving Randy Orton, Chris Jericho, Triple H, Goldberg, Kevin Nash, and Shawn Michaels. Steve Austin comes out and says, you know what, forget this, at SummerSlam, all 6 of you guys are going to be in the chamber. Now, Nash had a little mini feud with Jericho going on, and there were teases because Randy Orton was just kind of starting to come into his own as the legend killer, that they would probably do Michaels Orton as well. So you went from a SummerSlam that, from the Raw side, could have had Triple H Goldberg, Michaels Orton, Nash, and Jericho, on top of RVD Kane and Eric Bischoff, Shane McMahon. I mean, imagine how amazing SummerSlam 03 would be if that was the Raw side of things. That would have been amazing, but that's another story for another time. So they go in and they do it, and the chamber's building to Triple H and Goldberg. Everyone goes in and out. It was obvious they were protecting Triple H. This is the first time where Triple H comes out with the biker shorts, so you knew something was wrong. That was an issue. Triple H is in there for like 2 minutes. He hits a sledgehammer shot on Goldberg and a pedigree, and that's it. And then they do the post-match beatdown on Goldberg. Okay, everyone kind of understands why that went down that way, although everyone kind of, not everybody, but a lot of people kind of like, that's not the way that show should have ended. But okay. Unforgiven comes in September. Triple H Goldberg finally one-on-one. His quad is better. Triple H puts over Goldberg. Triple H also put over Goldberg because he was going to film Blade 3 and wasn't going to be around in the fall. Okay, makes sense. Triple H is here, he's there. Goldberg is doing other things. He's having great matches on Raw with Shawn Michaels, Mark Henry. I think he had one with Rob Van Dam. He might have had one with Ric Flair. They did the angle where, Triple H put a bounty on Goldberg and Batista returned and took out Goldberg for a few weeks. They did the thing with who almost hit Goldberg with the car. What was going on here, and it was being done really well by both sides, was Goldberg was still a major presence on TV. He was still a major part of Raw, and they were still managing his appearances, which was fine. You didn't need Goldberg on 6 straight weeks. Have him on 4. Take 2 off. And on top of that, sell the injury on the house shows. So now he's not working house shows. Okay, great. Things are going great. Triple H comes back for Survivor Series. The rematch with Goldberg. Everyone figures this is where Triple H is going to get the belt back. He doesn't. Okay, that's odd. This is also the show where the Goldberg-Brock Lesnar interaction happens, and it's like, okay, holy shit, we're going to get Lesnar-Goldberg at Survivor Series. Okay. But Goldberg didn't drop the title to Triple H at Survivor Series. Triple H disappears again. Now, all of a sudden, Goldberg's feuding with Kane, which made sense. Kane was a monster heel in 2003. It made sense, especially for the December pay-per-view. Why not do, a mid-card Goldberg-Kane feud for the title? Would have been a good win for Goldberg, and then decide what you're going to do with him at the Rumble. Well, the week of the show, on the Go Home Raw, Triple H returns and is added to the Goldberg-Kane match at Armageddon. And it's like, okay, this is where it's going to get interesting. Maybe Triple H pins Kane or Goldberg pins Kane, and then they'll do Triple H Goldberg one more time at the Rumble. And I guess that's where Hunter will get the belt back then. Well, lo and behold, Triple H wins the title at Armageddon. He pins Goldberg off a Kane chokeslam. Okay, as if that wasn't smash your head enough, it's bad in the sense that apparently what goes down backstage, and 18 years later, this story has never been said to be no, that never happened, it's false, nothing. It has stood the test of time. Apparently they got backstage and Hunter taunts Goldberg, holding up the title saying, look at it one last time because you're never getting this again. And apparently flips Goldberg off. Okay. Well, Bill being the guy that he is, and in this case rightfully so, turns around and tells Vince, you know how many dates we're at? There was never, leading up to that show, there was never a mention of how many dates Goldberg had been used. In fact, it was expected that they would go over the agreed amount of dates. Goldberg would get paid, some sort of bonus for, going over the dates, but they were going to work straight through and then reevaluate at Mania. Well, Hunter fucked that shit up. Goldberg, for no reason whatsoever, is suspended up until 2 weeks before the Royal Rumble. So he's suspended for the rest of December. I believe that Armageddon show was mid-December, so he was suspended at least 4 weeks. Goldberg comes back and wins the gauntlet for number 30 in the Rumble. Okay, Goldberg's probably going to win Goldberg's got 30. Let's see what they do with Goldberg at the Rumble. They run the Brock Lesnar angle, which is fine. Okay, Lesnar-Goldberg is the match set for WrestleMania. It's clear as day. Goldberg again shows up on Raw the night after the Rumble. All of a sudden again is presented 2 tickets. He works through the Rumble up until No Way Out. Because the Go Home Raw, even though No Way Out was a SmackDown show, the last Raw before No Way Out, that's when Austin gives Goldberg the tickets for No Way Out. We all know the story. Goldberg shows up, he spears Lesnar, Eddie Guerrero wins the title. Lesnar-Goldberg is 1,000,000% on. The problem is, again, Goldberg is counting dates. Goldberg is not on TV again after No Way Out. He might have been on the Raw the night after, but I think he was suspended again. He's not part of any of the build heading into the match with Lesnar at Mania. The build actually was more about Lesnar and Austin because it was clear as day. The word on the street was Goldberg was not going to resign. Everything with Triple H pissed him off. Goldberg was done. So Goldberg's off TV. Lesnar F5's Austin. Lesnar steals the ATV. Then we get to the SmackDown before WrestleMania. And I bring this up even though this doesn't have that much to do with Goldberg, because this is important into what the company's thinking was those last 5 days before Mania. Word comes out, SmackDown was taped on Tuesday. Word comes out that Lesnar just gave the company notice that he was leaving after WrestleMania. He wanted to pursue his NFL career. Company's caught completely blindsided. That's why that angle is ran where Lesnar comes out with the ATV, the whole roster comes out, and the whole roster kind of splits the aisle and lets Austin beat up Lesnar. Again, the build about Lesnar and Austin. Zero to do with Goldberg. So now you have a decision to make. Do you have Lesnar, who's leaving, and it's out there that he's leaving, go over at Mania? Or Goldberg, who's leaving, and it's out there that he's leaving? Well, the decision is made to have Goldberg go over, with the idea being that they can maybe talk Goldberg into staying. They gave him the Mania win. They throw some ideas out. Goldberg wasn't having it. Yeah, from what I remember, there was like a meeting the morning of Mania with like Vince and Goldberg, I don't even think it was in a nice way, pretty much told Vince to fuck off because of Triple H. And Goldberg did his match. The match was a disaster. I was there. We ate both of them alive. Goldberg is gone. Goldberg finishes the match. The match went on like middle of the show. Goldberg is gone right after the match. Doesn't even go to the post party because he didn't want to see Hunter because he was afraid. He was afraid that being that he wasn't on the contract anymore, what he would do to Hunter. There's been heat between these two for years. It's just recently that these two have put their differences beside them. But this all goes back to 30 seconds of Triple H being an asshole in 2003. And that was pretty much Triple H's thing in 2003. It was all about being an asshole. And that was it. Goldberg was gone. If Triple H didn't taunt Goldberg at the end of Armageddon, who knows what would have happened. They didn't even work house shows past Armageddon. Goldberg was like, no, these are my dates. This is where I'm at. I'm done. Goldberg was working house shows when they weren't counting dates. But, everyone looks at the Goldberg run as a disaster, a failure, this, that, whatever, a clusterfuck. But you know what? It's not Goldberg's fault. It's not Vince's fault. It's 100% Triple H's fault. That's it for this episode of Kicking It Classic with JCD. On our next episode, which I am going to try to get out this week, I know I've been promising you guys so much more content. There's just been a lot going on. Is going to look at the Jerry Lawler walking out on the WWF in 2001. And that's it for this week. I'm JCD. Thanks for listening.